Hello and welcome to Learn for Life news for the autumn term of 2015. Well, it all began with Sir Michael Wilshaw's comments on mobile phones. In his usual robust manner at the beginning of term, he was reported by the Telegraph as saying, "Any head worth their salt should stand up and ban mobiles." Well, this kind of thing always comes out at the beginning of term. Robust, no-nonsense speak that will generate a lot of flutter on Twitter, but little elsewhere. And talking of Twitter, there was a brief aside between Richard Adams and Alistair Smith about Wilshaw's personality. I'll leave it there, but I love Twitter. But to be honest, this is niminy-piminy stuff, as the late Brian Sewell was wont to say. When you read what head teachers are really up against, as in this article by Vic Goddard and Ross McMullen, you see the real state of the nation. The job we love is being undermined. Government policy on curriculum, exam and assessment is crippling head teachers. The result, there will be no one left to do the job. So, really, we need to look at the media and what is happening and how we reflect on it. Here's another article. Not so much about mobile phones, but about heads and the heads push over school funding disparities. And what do we get? Huge regional disparities in funding could leave schools without teachers unless they receive some extra money, say head teachers. Funding can vary by as much as £3,000 per pupil, but the government has pledged to even things out. These are the real issues. Now, I'm not so sure Wilshaw's claim about being ahead now is easier than it was in the 80s. I was there, for instance, so I should know. But maybe, possibly, in terms of behaviour and staff management, yes. But discipline means many things. And the truth of the matter is, management, the management side, is a bit of a nightmare at the moment. And I don't think it's getting any easier. Like Nick Gibb with teacher recruitment, they are both a bit in denial because nobody bothers to tell them anything. Ofsted has had to reach out to Twitter and pull critics in recent months. There have been a high number of high-profile meetings with prominent Twitterers to get feedback. With Gibb, he doesn't get that schools aren't even bothering to do returns on teacher scarcity for the department anymore. To get back to more weighty topics about technology in schools, here is a snappy article entitled, "Has Technology and Multitasking Rewired How Students Learn?" Under Ask the Cognitive Teacher, or Ask the Cognitive Scientist, I should say. So, this is very interesting. We have Dan Willingham's take on the whole thing, and I urge you to click on this article to take you to the PDF. And I find it fascinating that he quotes Richard Mayer a lot with reference to multimedia instruction. Now, Mayer in California did exhaustive tests on subjects in laboratories, wiring them up with PowerPoints and other things, and getting responses and feedback in immense detail in his studies. But I always wondered why Mayer never looked at things like humour or personality in content or delivery. Ah well, but Mayer's laboratory experiments are hopelessly out of date when it comes to the new tech that is virtually ubiquitous around us and out there in the wild. Willingham seems a little behind the times, and with research in this area, he writes things like, "When you encounter a new technology, try to think in abstract terms about what the technology permits that was not possible in the past. It's also worth considering what, if anything, the technology prevents or makes inconvenient." Well, something that us IT teachers have been saying since the dawn of humankind, really. It says other things about video being one thing and photographs being other. Photographs are great for detail. Well, has he never seen 360-degree videos? Honestly, I mean, have a look. There's an immense detail in those. So, he makes the set point several times in his document. If a new piece of technology is placed in your classroom, then with the expectation that you will use it, take advantage of online teacher communities. Well, yes, of course. This is a given. The technology I'm using now to do this broadcast isn't even on the event horizon in terms of research. Maybe a piece of research may come out in about 9 years. Someone can quote this, and then when the tech will be even more advanced, what will they do? Again, we have Willingham quote a piece of research from 2007, for heaven's sake, about hypertext and how it can disrupt reading. Those with a large working memory capacity, or with some background knowledge about the subject of the text, find hyperlinked text less disruptive. And surely those with prior knowledge of how the tech works will be more fluent in the use and application of the text, especially if it is more ubiquitous now. Yes, sure, those children who do not have computers from birth in their environment have a greater challenge. Maybe. I say maybe. This is why poorer children might find it a barrier. Another research route, perhaps? Of course, that can lead us down the garden path to speculation when there's little to go on. Of course, there is the odd piece of positive research coming out, like this from Michael Toucheton. Flipping the classroom entails high startup costs, but it can merit implementing to improve both effective and affective instructional outcomes. That's quite an interesting article. I would go and read that. It's fascinating. It's about statistics classes and being able to flip things and make it easier. It's a good PDF. Of course, this leads us to commentators like Andrew Sabinsky, who says, "A lecturer finds a flipped classroom benefits his advanced statistics students. Normally, I'm quite sceptical of this stuff, but it seems perfectly logical that it could be of benefit in elite classrooms full of smart people." So does that mean, Andrew, that the rest of them in their porter cabins cannot be trusted not to go and look at Kim Kardashian on their mobile phones? And also, while we're on the subject, look at Sian Griffith's response to the Bath Studio School, who says, "Love to share with you our school where technology really does enhance learning. Banning iPads daft." And I will definitely be going down to the Bath Studio School to look at their setup. But what does Sian Griffiths, the ed correspondent for the Sunday Times, say? "Banning iPads daft, you say? Would love to know how you stop teens watching Kim Kardashian on them." Oh no, not Kim Kardashian again. And of course then David Brown wades in, not altogether with tongue-in-cheek. "How you stop teens watching Kim Kardashian on them? At school, I would suggest an effective discipline policy." And of course, that leads us straight back to behaviour again. Of course, all this stemmed from a BBC report on the OECD doc by Andreas Schleicher. Go along and read it. Very interesting. Overall, it was a far more positive report than represented in the media. Here are other examples. Mobile phones' impact on lessons coming under scrutiny. Again, we go back to the various spins that we get on the UK media. Larry Cuban was good on this, though, in the first of a two-parter. Really thought this was excellent. Want to read the second parter soon. He says, in a somewhat mixed metaphor, the media are more about the sizzle than the steak. Urge you to go along and read that article. Well, to continue with the food metaphor, as with everything else in this arena, you have to work your way through the gumbo, read the provenance of the reports and make your own mind up, not have it made up for you by the mainstream media, who like a good barbecue often than not. So let's take Willingham's words at the end of the article again. If a new piece of technology is placed in your classroom, then the expectation is that you will use it. Take advantage of online teacher communities. Wise words indeed. So looking around, we can see a couple of excellent blogs in response to all this banner headlines. Neil Atkin wrote a really measured blog here, and I really want to flag this up because it is excellent. I urge you again to read an article by a practitioner. He writes, "I'm a huge advocate of using technology in lessons when it adds significantly to learning and does something you can't do without it." That echoes Willingham's statement. You don't even need to change your teaching style. Just use tools that enhance your understanding of the student's learning journey. And assessment for learning can be transformed with Plickers, Socrative, Shadow Puppet, and instantly and painlessly provides you with data that informs your lesson planning. But first comes humanity and relationships and good behaviour management. And that, I think, is what people find so hard who don't want to go down that route to explore augmentation of their learning. They can't really juggle all the balls. Those that can, Those that can't, they don't need to. But don't condemn other people for doing it, especially as if you think there should be evidence. The best evidence is other teachers telling you. Teachers' autonomy. Teachers being out there giving you really good exemplars. Trust is a good thing. Right, so that takes us right back to behaviour and what we expect in the classroom. And so we come to something current. Kieran Dunner Halliwells, also known as Ezzy Moon on Twitter, her piece, Am I a Researcher Net, on the MirandaNet site, I really think you should go along and have a look at. It's absolutely brilliant. Read it. It's current and reflective. And to end with all this fuss around the media, go along to my website, where in my latest film, I interview the people behind Beowulf, the educational video game. Yes, you heard correctly. At the UCL Institute of Education, several of the faculty are experimenting with video games and Anglo-Saxon tropes. Go along and have a read. Have a great weekend. And don't forget, don't believe everything you read in the media.